Raise your horns high and let your spirit flow. It's the classic metal wrap-up show. Feel the rush, let the loudness grow. It's the classic metal wrap-up show.
Sammy Hagar's book for Barden.
This is for you, Barden.
For Barden,
yes.
Yeah.
We'll show him. It's got Sam and Ed right there. 1988, right?
Right.
That'll piss him off pretty good.
Yeah.
All right.
And we'd like to
you
chat with Barden. It would be good day.
Yeah. This is an old book, but if any of you don't have it, you should have it. It's
Right.
actually a good book. I was just brushing up on the alien visitation. So
yeah, he's always had stuff. I remember there was some aliens show, and he had actually mentioned that. And then there was a ghost show, and he was into that too. He did I think he had a episode where I think he said his dad came to visit him, and whoa, wait a minute, isn't that what he said about the Ed Van Halen song? How that came together?
Come to him in a dream.
Right, it was in a dream. So.
But I'm not saying these things aren't possible. I have weird dreams all the time. But Ed Van Halen's never come to me and told me to write a song.
Write a song with him. Yeah, that's true. So, all right.
So yeah.
So
hello, ladies and gentlemen.
Something a little different. We have a missing person. Yeah. So Andrew's kind of. I think he's going to join us at least once or twice a month or something like that. So I think he's got probably better stuff to do. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess if I had better stuff to do, I might be doing something else, right? kind of like any CMS guests, right? They have better things to do on a Saturday night.
Yeah, I mean, we do this for those of you out there that haven't. We're going to pull the curtain back a little bit here, and we record this on Sundays, and then through the week I edit it and put it out on the platforms. Although I should make mention on this episode, for those of you catching this will be a week or so later. Rumble has been a pain in the ass. Uploading anything to Rumble is like fucking slower than molasses in winter. I don't know what's happening there, but YouTube seems to be going just fine and the other platforms, but Rumble's processing and uploading the video to Rumble, at least on my end, very tough to do, but we will get to it. It will eventually happen. The point is that yes, Andrew, podcasting once a week on Sunday afternoons is not for everyone. And, being on a schedule is not for everyone. As many of you know out there in life, there's certain people who can maintain schedules and people who just don't like having a schedule. Maybe being somewhere at a certain time feels like pressure to them. And I'm not saying that's exactly the case for Andrew, but he has a lot. We're still here. Evil's not going anywhere. Wendell created me, which we'll go over in a little bit. And Evil's not heading anywhere, neither is Ruben. And we have plenty to talk about in the rock world. And we'll have Andrew on. Behind the scenes, he's also helping us as a producer role, helping us supply material and things to discuss on the show. And he'll be on once or twice a month. We'll also be having other former, like we said, I talked about probably having Kendall Peters back on at some point in time. And some other people will join us. And we'll continue to interview guests and continue to talk rock and music and everything CMS related as well. Time's just flying by.
So. It was funny because last night, I should say, didn't they have some tech issues? I think Chris dropped out for a little bit, and your image froze for a little bit. So I don't know if maybe we're getting the CMS curse, but it wasn't anything major. I mean, we could still hear you, we could see you, except it was a still. So hopefully we don't have more of that.
Am I back now?
Yeah, you're back now. Yeah. And
okay.
I don't know.
Yeah, well, that could very well be. I don't know where you all exist in the world, but Evil, Keneally, and Ruben are in the state of Oregon, and I don't know what Ruben has up there, but down here in southern Oregon, in the mountains where I am located, it's a rather small town. Yeah. We have Spectrum as the main internet provider here, and they have every night been giving me updates that they're updating their maintenance. So the Rumble uploads could be a problem with Spectrum and not necessarily with Rumble, but I'm noticing it seems to be working fine with YouTube, just just not with Rumble
Right.
right now. So but there's been other times where my connection to Rumble was fine. But last night, while watching the CMS, which I do via Rumble on my Roku, it kept freezing on my end too occasionally.
Hmm.
So it might be an internet connection out here in the mountains right now. So
Right. Yeah. I don't
tech
know.
issues could happen even to Aiken IT, so they most certainly
Right.
could happen to some
Aiken.
pea
Yeah.
brain like Evil
No.
Knievel.
Yeah. It was a fluke thing because it was real. It was like a sputter last night, and they were right back on. Um, but
Yeah.
yeah. So
And the
yeah.
week
So
before, they did have some technical issues, I believe. Yeah.
yeah. And we'll keep rolling, and yeah, we'll have more guests, and it was fun having Tim James, who knew, 3 hours later or so, or close to it, or about 3 hours, where I'm just like, holy shit, that's like a third of a work shift.
Absolutely. The man is chock full of Motley Crue knowledge. It was awesome to pick his brain on some topics and hear his side of things. I think sometimes they pull the plug, for my taste, a little too early for him on the CMS. And so to have him on the wrap up show and let him just go full throttle was cool. And maybe some people will find those conversations to be boring. No problem, ladies and gentlemen. Hit skip and move on to the next episode. But I thought we just were really, honestly, in some areas, just touching the tip of the iceberg with Motley Crue because they have so many albums and such a lengthy career and, quite frankly, so much controversy.
Hmm.
I mean, that's just what they're filled with, right? Everything is,
Well,
there's
like
always a hot, even right now, there's a
right
hot
now,
topic
yeah,
with
right.
Motley
I was
Crue.
gonna say women problems with Vince and
Yeah.
Tommy. Although, with Tommy, I swear, didn't he and his wife, girlfriend, whatever she is, didn't they break up already a couple times, or if not once at least?
I think early on they had a brief,
Right.
hiatus, we'll say,
Sure.
and then they got back together. This sounds a little more. Well, let's just cut it to the chase. Brittany's making the claim that it's Tommy's drinking. Would that be the first woman to have had problems
Right.
with
Yeah.
Tommy and alcohol or drug abuse? Probably not. I think that Heather
Right.
Locklear and Pam Anderson encounter the same
Hmm.
battles that she's having. And I believe his son knocked him out for being a drunk fuck one
Yeah.
night too, or vice versa. I don't
Yeah.
remember. They were
I
both drunk. I
remember
don't know.
that. I remember
Uh,
Brandon.
was that
Brandon knocked
Brandon
him
or
out.
Dylan? Yeah, I don't
Oh,
know. One of
yeah.
them.
Well, who
One
knows?
gave him
One
the
of the two.
old
But
one
yeah,
too.
he knocked his ass
And
out. Which,
yeah, Tommy, the guy just seems like he's chaos.
and
That's just what
obnoxious.
I get. Yes, and full of himself,
Yeah.
and the world revolves around the T-bone, and so. In this case, we have Mr. Ronnie Radke entering the picture again.
Oh,
Apparently,
that's
Brittany
right.
was,
Right.
according to Ronnie, was having some DMs with someone who was not Ronnie because she was chatting with him on Snapchat, and I don't. And Ronnie's claiming he's not on Snapchat and has never been on Snapchat. So apparently, showed up. He claimed Brittany showed up to his front door unannounced. He had no clue because he wasn't the one
Right.
chatting with her, and claims she was at his front door looking to get a piece of him. So,
That's
which let's just be straight. Okay, we could say maybe this is bullshit. Maybe Ronnie's full of shit. Maybe he was actually on Snapchat. Maybe he's got a burner account. That could be possible. He could be telling the truth, and she could have just been deceived. And would it be not out of the realm for a woman like a Brittany Furlan to say, "Let me trade in the 62-year-old T-Bone for the
right.
35-year-old Radke"?
Right.
That might be at a 38-year-old woman who's in LA trying to stay in the rock circles in the paparazzi's eye. That might be a move that some of these women would do. Let's think about this. Pam Anderson went from Bret Michaels to Tommy Lee to Janie Lee, or all the above. And I believe Bobby Brown did the same thing. Didn't she have some of the same guys in the same circles? So these ladies sometimes have a tendency to hop from one rocker to another. So. And although I'm not at all into Ronnie Radke's music, it does seem like he's everywhere these days. He's
Yeah.
one of the younger faces of rock that people recognize,
Yeah. I
rightly
remember
or wrongly.
Bobby Brown she wrote that I think at least one book, right? There's at least one book I think that
Hmm.
she wrote, but
Yeah, I think she has two. Yeah.
a couple. I think it was the second one when she wrote the second book. There was in Portland there was a what they called and it only happened one time. It was called the Headbangers Con. So it was all music related type stuff. Um, artists, bands, performances, and stuff like that. So it was like I forget whether it was a 2 or 3 day. I think it was Friday, Saturday, Sunday. But didn't go to the Sunday, but I did go Saturday because that's when they had like a lot of the. It was almost kind of like a Comic-Con type thing. They have the booths and
Hmm.
people
Yeah.
will sign stuff, meet and greet type things. That's actually where I met Ron Keel because Keel was there. But Bobby Brown had a table and I'll have to I'll have to grab the book sometime. Derek Riggs, the guy that does all the maiden artwork, was signing his book, and I bought the book, and he personalized it, did this cool Eddie photo a
Uh-huh.
drawing rather next to
Yeah.
his signature. But I felt bad for Bobby Brown because she was hardly getting any traffic. I always felt like buying the book just to have it signed because you
Hmm.
felt bad for her. But I think that's what happens with some of these folks that tried, like you were just saying, they try so hard to stay relevant and out there, and I guess their time just comes and goes.
Well, no offense to the other guy, but I would have been all over Bobby Brown's table and her, but that's just evil. I still think she's pretty hot in her old
Oh yeah,
age.
no,
So
no, no. I'm not saying
yeah,
she's not. I just think
she's
that
oh yeah.
I think when
People
you
don't recognize who she is compared
exactly
to the guys that
right,
did all this other stuff. Yeah, I don't know.
right, and they did
Like
have a lot
really,
of
her only claim to fame is that cherry pie video, and then other than the guys, I mean,
sure
there's no like she doesn't have a movie, she
the
doesn't have
great
you
white
know,
video, but
yeah,
music video,
yeah.
but yeah, I think that's what it was. Um,
Mhm.
I think there were enough newer bands and artists there that uh, it kind of limited the audience for her.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah. She's well, I've had a few. Well, I'll just put it this way: chats with her in the day back in the day, about I don't know 5 or 10 years ago, and she's always funny and was nice to me and gave me a lot of before the books ever came out. Some of those stories were told to me in chat that because I specifically asked questions. The whole evil Keneally's mind is like the Inquirer, always wanting to know. So I thought, it was the early days of Instagram, and I thought, fuck it, I got nothing to lose. She has a Bobby Brown account. I'm going to message her and say, what do you think happened to Janie? Why was he such an alcoholic? Because I've told this story in private and in person that a couple of my encounters and seeing Warrant and meeting Janie back in the late 90s, early 2000s when they were really in the having to work clubs and bars. Janie was a mess. I mean, just almost Weekend at Bernie's level mess after the
oh
show
yeah.
at the merch booth. So I had to ask her what was going on with that. I mean, I've almost never seen someone so absolutely plastered. And still trying to with his manager and bandmates to make him function. And she had told me the same stories. We'll just leave it at that you hear in the books. And some of I was trying to dig out who, how, when, and why, and I think I came up to certain conclusions. So
Oh yeah, right. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So we
Yeah,
won't even mention names here. You can go on the internet and
sure.
Google it. But poor Janie was a victim of some things and some shenanigans that should not have happened to him at a young age. Let's just put it that way.
The other thing, real
So
quick, because I know we were talking about the Motley guys having women trouble. I actually thought that it looks like and it's weird because I think a lot of the Vince girlfriend wives all kind of look the same. I thought this was still the same woman. This is different because I thought this was. I'm looking on here. I thought that the woman that he broke up with because she's screwing around on him was Heidi Mark, but it's not even her. It's
oh, it's the new girlfriend.
the new girl. It's the girlfriend, right?
And if you recall when I scheduled the real Dana Strum to make his appearance back at Easter, there was a photo of them having dinner at Vince's that was supplied, and there was no woman in that
There was
photo
no woman.
next to Vince,
Right.
ladies and gentlemen. So that might have foretold some things that were happening at the time. No, I believe Vince has had three
Hmm.
wives. I think this is a girlfriend after wife
Hmm.
number three or wife number
And this is the
four.
one
I'm
that
not
was on the
exactly clear, but I
jet
know there's
that
at least three.
crashed.
Yeah, that crashed. Yes,
I
yes,
wonder if
that's
she was
but
flying to
that's
meet the
not the
other
one that
dude.
he moved to Tennessee with.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, well, that could very well have been the possibility here. So yeah, and then I believe they were saying Vince was having some health concerns
Hmm.
too. At least that was the story that was put out regarding some cancellations over the last 6 months or so. So hopefully Vince's health is in order, and hopefully his personal relationships get sorted. But yes, I agree with you. The man has a tendency to pick tall,
Well,
leggy blondes taller than himself with large boobs. That's pretty much the MO of Vince Neil.
I mean, then there was even another one that I didn't know about. So I guess Heidi Mark is the one that he was married to from 2000 to 2011.
Which
And
is
then
the one he
came
left Vegas to
right.
Tennessee with?
Yeah,
Yes.
and then there's
There was one since
the
then.
Leah, and then this girlfriend. So it's like, wow, I thought there was the same woman.
But those are just girlfriends. He didn't marry those. I
Right.
believe there was three
Yeah. Yeah,
marriages. Like
marriages.
Charisse, right,
Yep.
was the original one
Hmm.
that was Skylar's mom.
Right.
There's one after that, and then there's the one that he had when he left Vegas and moved to Tennessee with her, and
So
then
wait a
that went
minute.
kaput.
Am I
So
doing a Neely
I'm
and
not
Sterrett?
in Vince's personal sphere, but I talked to the real Dana
The
Strum,
real
and he clues me in on these details.
Well, it's almost like I'm stereotyping blonde women now, kind of like Neely does with
Yeah,
ethnic
you're
groups.
grouping them up.
Oh, jeez. Well,
At least we're not examining their waistlines and how many lbs they put on. So
or
I
their
think Vince.
foreheads.
If I could give Vince a little earful, I would just say, don't keep any of them. Why?
Well, not
You're Vince
now. I mean,
Neil.
he's
You
almost
could
in
have
his
a new
mid
girlfriend every
60s.
6 months. You
Yeah.
hang out with them, and well, but I'm just saying though, there's plenty of these older, 40-year-old rocker women who will bed down Vince Neil tomorrow because he's Vince Neil. So why are
Hmm.
you even bothering to stick with one more than a few months? I mean, if you really like her, I mean, date her, I guess. But I don't know.
By
If I was
by
Vince Neil on tour all the time, I mean, he does when he's well, right now he's not on tour, but previously the last couple of years between Vince Neil band and crew, he must be out there 100 days out of the year on the road doing something. So why?
so by 40, well, I don't know if she's 40. She's probably older than that. I was referring to Stacy, who extracted herself from the Facebook page. Maybe would you
Well,
consider her a what would you say, a rocker, older rocker chick? I guess she is, right?
yes, she is. And for a Don Dokken who's in his
Sure,
70s, that's
sure.
probably right in his wheelhouse for what he
Right,
would be shooting for, I would think. But for Vince, who's about 10 years younger
right.
than Don, and probably, let's be honest, I think Vince has got a little more,
Sure,
pizzazz for the ladies. He has a little, it just seems more of a, like the true, he's the almost reluctantly with evil saying this, he's almost is the rock star of the
sure.
80s. I mean, like he really
Right.
liked the blonde hair, the crew. That's pretty much the movie. I mean, there's no Dokken movie. There's no guy
There's a
portraying
Netflix
Dokken on
documentary
TV.
coming.
So, oh yeah, that was supposed to be right.
Yeah. No,
So I'm just saying that it just seems like he should have just a little more something going for himself. He's got more buckaroos in the bank account. He's got a couple restaurants, couple of bars. I think the guy is probably diversified enough he can score some chicks. That's my
so
guess.
who would you go see do acoustic? Vince Neil or Don Dokken?
Well, if we're talking,
Acoustic
yeah,
sets.
acoustic
Yeah.
show,
Yeah.
which is kind of funny that the CMS brought that up last night, like it was this new revelation that we should
Hmm.
suggest that Dawn go to acoustic. I think someone's been saying that for a few months now, but
Right.
I'm going Dawn acoustically. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think Vince could sing acoustic worth a
Yeah.
shit. Vince can't sing anything. Vince is all show, no go. I mean, the guy has got. Even when he's trying, man, I was watching some of the videos of them trying the new songs, and he's at the monitor, looking down to the lyrics, trying to get it right, and it's still out of key and out of tune. And so I would say in this one instance, Don may actually be the winner here. He may be able to pull off an acoustic show and sing a couple of songs that might actually sound somewhat respectable.
Hmm.
In my unprofessional, semi-professional musical opinion, Don is a real musician, can probably play a few chords and sing his own songs. Vince has to be handed the words on the
Well,
written on the paper by Nicky and coached by
mhm.
Bob Rock on how to sing this.
He needs a, well, they both need teleprompters, but
Yeah.
I I think Vince would have a harder time doing a sit down. Like, can you imagine just him just sitting doing an acoustic thing? Where I think Don, I mean, I think he'd benefit from just sitting on a stool, with the mic in front of him and somebody else strumming the guitar. Where Vince, I think he'd be so out of place just sitting in place, and it would probably expose him for a worse singer that he is, right?
Absolutely. And it would, he's not, let's just put it this way, there was never a Motley Crue storytellers.
Right. Right.
There's a reason, right? I mean,
Sure.
Vince ain't telling stories, and he ain't singing acoustic, and let's be frank, Nikki Sixx is not of the quality of a musician on
Right.
acoustic bass
Oh
guitar to
no.
show you.
Yeah.
So I mean, that would just be a complete bombshell going off. It would be horrible. So they're smart enough to know that. No, Vince knows his place. He needs the band, he needs the lights, he needs the show, he needs to get up there and give you a feel good in 10 other same old situations and the ones you know. And yeah, in that regard, Vince has kind of got his little gig, and that's his gig. And that's all he needs to do, and that's all anyone asks him to do. Don wrote the songs. Don can tell stories. I
Hmm.
mean, that's what I'm trying to suggest here. I think Don would be more entertained to me if he gave me a little story between I wrote this song here with this and that, and here's
Right.
John Levin doing this acoustically, and I'm going to sing an acoustic version of that. That would be kind of cool.
Hmm.
Don could entertain you that way. I will give him credit that way.
Be like,
Vince is not.
here's a song that I gave George and Jeff 50% writing credit. He would make it fun. I mean, he would be really, he's the grumpy old sarcastic man.
Yes, and we can at least say this: Don has connection to the tunes because
Hmm.
Don can write a melody. Don can write the words. Maybe takes the words, even if they have some outline by George or Jeff, and revise them. And he is good. I mean, lyrically, many of the reason why we like Dawkins songs is because the lyrics are pretty badass.
Hmm.
You get into them and read what he's talking about. So in those regards, Don is definitely way above Vince. Vince, it's been pretty clear since the earliest of days to me as a teenager that Nicky's doing the work. Vince comes in and sings into a microphone, and Vince goes home to drink beer and bang chicks. That's pretty
And
much what happens.
I think it really benefits to Vince to a degree to be a contractor, because then he just
Yeah.
shows up. I mean, he doesn't have to put any fucking work into anything. I mean, you
Yeah.
remember that VH1 show where they remade him? I think they wrote a song for him with Desmond Child. They gave him a makeover, sucked the fat out of him, gave him some plastic surgery, and within like 2 years, the guy was back to his old self. Oh, and a vocal
And the
vocal coach too. So I mean, they really went all out on trying to get him in shape, and then if I think a trainer too, and within 2 years, the guy was back to old Vince.
back to old Vince, his usual ways. And let's be clear, go watch the song. I mean, it's probably an okay song because
Hmm.
Desmond Child wrote it,
Right.
but it's not an okay song because of
No.
Vince's vocal
Right.
prowess.
Right.
And it's a ballad, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
I think it was a
Yeah.
ballady type song, and
Sure.
it wasn't bad. I heard worse, but it wasn't.
Right.
Come on, it's yeah.
It wasn't.
It
Yeah. It
just
wasn't great.
proved once again that I'm not knocking Vince. Everyone has a band is a band for a reason. Everyone has their role and their strengths, and the band is supposed to accentuate the strengths and hide the weaknesses. And Motley Crue's been very good at doing that for Vince Neil and, quite frankly, Nikki Sixx for a long time. And let's just put it this way: think about it in Vince's shoes. Do you really want to hang out with Tommy Lee any more than you have to?
Yeah.
Do you really want to be around Nikki any more than you have to?
Right.
And that whole I mean, Nicky's head is big for a reason, and it's not just because of the size of the cranium. It's the fucking ego inside that thing, man. You criticize Nikki Six, you're going to hear about it, from my understanding. I'm surprised he hasn't. Well, I guess we can only get a few hundred views. If we had thousands and thousands of views, he'd probably
Right.
reach out to Evil and tell me to shut the fuck up.
Right.
But
Or but he's also pretty frail, brittle. Because I forget what it was. It was something when X was still Twitter, and I think he was shitting on the '94 record. And all I did was I think I posted something to the effect of well, it's funny that you're so wishy-washy on this record. It's either really great or it's shit. And then I was blocked. And it was like, wow. And which is
You're not
true.
the
I mean,
first
if you
one.
look at over the years, I mean, he's said great things about that record, and then he's shit on the record. So,
I believe Karabi has made it very clear that the issues that might be existing in that situation come from one person with the last name of Six. It sounds to me.
right.
I mean, there's nobody else who is, and so well, that what you're going to hear from Nicky on about that is probably based upon his mood and whether he's being truthful and honest or whether he's trying to. I think ever since Vince has came back in the fold, Nicky has gone out of his way to make sure that it very much appears that Vince and that era of crew is everything, and there's nothing else. It's kind of like what Rob Halford has made Judas Priest do to the Ripper era.
oh yeah,
Forget about it.
yeah,
Just fucking forget about it. It doesn't exist. Those two albums, those tours, those shows, that live DVD, the video, that doesn't exist. Even though I owned them, doesn't exist to Rob. Now, Rob has his reasons, and I actually could say some respect to Rob for explaining that. He's had in interviews explained why he doesn't listen to it and why he doesn't perform it. And those are his own reasons. I'm not saying I agree, but at least he's been honest and very forthright, and it's no slight to Ripper at all. It's just that to him, he wants to keep his memories and what he does with Priest with what he did with those albums. So,
right.
I think also to be fair, I don't think Rob wants to try to tackle singing any Ripper
Well,
songs.
and when
I
you
don't-
think
yeah.
about it, I mean, let's say Tate came back to Queensryche. I don't think he could do any of the Latore stuff, right? And I don't think he would want to. So, I mean, I think in the same regard, I mean, it's a similar thing with Halford where it's
Situation.
like, yeah, it's like you wouldn't expect. I mean, it'd be cool to have him do that, but you wouldn't expect him to do it.
No, and and these reasons is why Nikki does the same thing with crew, and they just forget '94. If someone brings it up, talk trash, make sure Vince feels like his era is the only era, and let's just be honest.
But you know what's
For
funny?
whatever reason though,
Yeah.
when they had Karabi, they couldn't sell a fucking ticket. Now, whether that was
Right.
the era or whether that was the album or whether that was Karabi, but you got to be realistic. There's a million people out there who are not me and Ruben, who when they think of Motley Crue, they think of a blonde, short front guy on stage. That's what they think of. They don't even think of Nikki Sixx. I'm sorry. They don't think of Mick Mars. They think of Vince Neil. That's their image of Motley Crue. Because if you're my dad, he doesn't know anything about him. There's some blonde guy running around on stage, right? Some short dude.
Right.
That's it. That's Vince. And so, rightly or wrongly, you lost ticket sales, you lost fans, and whether we like it or not, they're on a stadium tour with Vince, not John Karabi. So,
Right. Yeah.
yeah.
Well, yeah.
There's just something about that. The people long for what they know, and what they know is the guy that's on the leather pants and that first album and on those album covers and in those music videos. They want those four dudes. Even Mick, you could better believe that John 5 probably gets a little bit of shit from some people like you're not Mick.
Oh,
Mars.
sure. Yeah. Which it's still, I mean, it's just like, he's just not a good fit. I don't think. I mean, I like the John 5 solo albums. I mean, yeah, he's just not a good fit.
I'm not enjoying what I'm seeing of the live shows with him, and I'm not buying what they were selling with the new songs. And no offense to him, I think he was fine in Manson and Zombie, and it seemed like those kind of were more his fits. But the idea that Mick at his age is coming back to go on 60-date stadium tour or even 30-date stadium tour is not happening. And you know, I let's just be honest. A Crew is one of those bands that should have said farewell when they said farewell.
Right.
Nicky should have gone off and done some other project, let T-Bone make a rap album, let Vince take his Vince Neil band with Dana out there and run around. But there doesn't really What? They have millions. What are they? I don't know. Maybe they're losing the millions to these girlfriends. I don't I
Hmm.
don't know. I don't know what they're doing, but
Right.
the performances, I'll be honest with you. I'll say this. John 5 performs well. He makes
Right.
the songs sound note for note pretty much like Mick and everything. It just sounds generic and stale. It doesn't have the feel. It doesn't have the vibe, and it doesn't um John 5 can't carry Nikki and Vince.
Hmm.
And Tommy's the only one back there who's probably still playing an
Right.
instrument.
Right.
So
And basically, I mean, the John Five stage presence. I mean, the way he has a guitar all the way above his head. I mean, it's just kind of a weird. It works for him as a solo artist, because he does do like the makeup and the horror type imagery and kind of scene. But then with him and Motley, it just seems like it's just that, but without the paint. And I don't,
basically, and
yeah.
it doesn't quite work for me either.
That's why I was like, they should have gotten DJ Ashba, and it would have been at a hell of a deal, right? Because he wouldn't be asking that
No,
much money,
no, no.
yeah.
That would be an option. There's other guys I think out there that probably could have been pulled in to do the gig and do it well, but they're clearly were looking for name as well as
Mm,
playing, and that's where I think they went wrong. You
right.
don't. You're Motley Crue. You don't need a name.
Raise your horns high, let your